My name is Michael Pelaez, and I'm a professor at FNU. This is the time to kind of prepare for if you do have a virtual interview in the coming future. There are very simple tips to follow. Since I know that a lot of people aren't used to remote environments. I think that one of the biggest fears is public speaking or being in a meeting for the first time, like an interview. A lot of people have that fear. Think of virtual interviews as you have more control over your surrounding environment. I mean, nobody likes to walk into an interview the first time and maybe see 5 people at a conference table ready to, ask you questions. When you're in a virtual environment, maybe 5 little screens on your monitor doesn't scare you as much. So you definitely have more of an advantage on your side. The disadvantage is, of course, it's harder to portray your body language through a webcam. So definitely advantages and disadvantages. Not orange like here, but definitely a solid color. You want a lot more attention on you. It's hard enough that you're not in the room with the person interviewing you. So having a solid color background, I highly suggest it. Never go wrong with overdressing. So if you're in between and you think, well, should I wear a tie or not? Or for women, should I wear a casual dress or a work-related dress? Definitely dress up for an interview instead of dress down. Employers are asking how you're dealing with the pandemic. It gives them a lot of information about how you take care of things. So expect questions that will relate specifically to how this pandemic has affected you and maybe even extended to your family. Body language is extremely important. This is not the best way to portray it on a camera, so you have to use every technique possible, and that's the main one is eye contact by looking directly into the camera. Building rapport is very important. Again, very hard to show getting there early or shaking their hands firmly. What I would suggest, and I know that sometimes people say that it's outdated, definitely follow up with a thank you, whether that's a thank you note mailed by snail mail or US mail, or a nice email. Find out who everybody is that's going to watch the video, because remember, sometimes the person interviewing you may forward that interview recording to somebody else once you're one of the finalists. Find out if that does happen and thank those people for their time, because it's, they're using up your time just as you are to interview you. So thank them somehow. Be prepared for one-way interviews, meaning sometimes you're not going to have somebody asking you questions. Sometimes they may just say, you know what, we're not going to be able to do this interview, but here are a list of things we want you to record yourself answering. So be prepared for that. If you were preparing for a dynamic of back and forth, you may be prepared now for something that's one way. The other thing is, be sure, and I know that it's said again and again, be sure that you have no interruptions. Silence your phone. Don't just put it on vibrate. Go ahead and turn off the vibrate or turn off your phone. Also, dress yourself the whole way. Don't just dress the top, because you may easily have to stand up to grab something. It also changes the way that you speak depending on how you're dressed at the moment. So dress completely for the interview. Also, reduce distractions 100%. If you're able to turn off your phone, do that, but also have it handy in case something goes wrong and you have to call the person. And the third or fourth thing I'll mention there is always have a backup. If you have a laptop and maybe an iPad, have the iPad ready to go in case you have any issues. Make sure that there's, a fresh battery in your mouse. You don't want any issues in the interview, because remember that they're expecting you to work from your computer and from an uninterrupted environment. So Those I would say are tips to keep in mind.